All right, so this lesson is on adjustments for accrued revenue and accrued expenses. Accrued simply means built up. Okay. Um, Now, the adjustment for accrued expenses is an expense is going to be debited and a payable is going to be credited. So it's always an expense and a payable. For accrued revenue, it's always going to be a receivable and a revenue account. Okay, so a receivable and a revenue account. So accrued expenses are expenses that have been incurred this fiscal period but haven't been recorded. So things like interest and salaries. And accrued revenue is revenue that has built up this fiscal period but hasn't been recorded, and it will be recorded in a future fiscal period. So interest on investments or commission are examples of accrued revenue. So you'll understand a little bit better by going through an example. So let's assume that ABC borrowed $6,000 on February 1st, 2008, to be repaid in 2009 on January 31st. Okay, so a full year. Okay, interest on the loan is 10% per year. Now, what adjusting entry would be made on December 31st? Okay, now the loan, so we know it's an expense because it's a loan, right? So we know it's going to be interest expense and interest payable. Now, the loan doesn't have to be paid until 2009, right? So January 31st, 2009. But, okay, the end of the fiscal period is December 31st, 2008. Okay, so what adjusting entry would be made on December 31st, the end of the fiscal period, to record the interest that can be attributed to 2008 but will not be paid until basically January 31st or February 1st of 2009. Okay, so we got the loan on February 1st, so we're looking at 11 months, right? So again, in order to calculate the amount of interest that has accrued, we're going to take $6,000 and we're going to multiply by 10%. That's for a year. And we're going to multiply by 11 out of 12 months because that's how much has accrued for this fiscal period. It's going to be paid in the next fiscal period on January 31st, but it can be attributed to 2008. Okay, so the adjustment simply is interest expense debited for $550 and interest payable credited for $550. All right, so let's go through an accrued revenue adjustment. So ABC bought a 3-year investment certificate worth $7,000 on January 1st, 2008. The certificate earns simple interest of 9% per year, and it only pays interest at maturity. So after 3 years, you're going to get 9% on $7,000. Okay, so on January 1st, 2011, you're going to get your principal plus your interest, right? So what adjusting entry would be made on December 31st, 2008? Okay, so basically 1 year of interest has accrued at the end of December 2008, right? So we have to calculate how much that is. So each year it's earning 9%. So 7,000 times 9%, okay, is $630. So again, the interest, since it's an accrued revenue adjustment, the interest receivable is debited and the interest revenue is credited. Okay, So hopefully that makes sense to you.